Hammaga salom do'stlar. Sizlar bilan yana Mr. Abdullayev. Mr. Abdullayev YouTube kanaliga xush kelibsizlar. Xo'p, bugun sizlar bilan Essential Words birinchi kitobini ikkinchi unitiga yetib keldik mana. Va bu ikkinchi mavzuyimiz. So'zlarda sizlar bilan o'qiymiz, tarjimalab turibdi o'zi. Gaplarni va reading textini tarjima qilib chiqamiz. Do'stlar, videoni oxirigacha ko'ringlar. Albatta so'zlar yozib olinglar. Yodlab ketinglar va tekstni ham men birinchi o'qib berib keyin tarjima qilib ketaman. Shuni tekstlariga ham yaxshilab e'tibor berib turinglar. Juda ham foydali bo'ladi albatta. Demak, tekstlarda ham bizga chiqadigan juda ham foydali tomonlari ko'p. Xo'p, ayniqsa noldan boshlaganlar tarjima qilishda qiynaladi. Shu tarjima qilish qobiliyatini rivojlantirish uchun ham noldan boshlaganlar uchun har bitta gapiga e'tibor berib ketishlaringizni so'rab qolaman. Demak, biz darsimizni boshladik. Xo'p, adventure bu sarguzasht turibdi, sarguzasht, adventure. Riding in the rough water was an adventure. Riding in the rough water was an adventure. Nima degani? Riding bu yerda minish degani, endi suzish, sayr qilish. Xo'p, in the rough o'zi g'adir budur degani, lekin bu yerdagi ma'nosi ya'ni suvga nisbatan to'lqinli degan ma'noni bildiradi. Demak, to'lqinli suvda sayr qilish, ya'ni o'sha suvda suzish, sayr qilish was an adventure, ya'ni sarguzasht bo'ldi, haqiqiy sarguzasht bo'ldi deydi. Xo'p, keyingi so'zimiz approach. Approach bu yerda yaqinlashmoq, yaqin kelmoq degani. Xo'p, the boy approached his school. The boy approached his school. Bola, the boy, demak bola maktabiga yaqinlashib keldi. Keyingi so'zimiz carefully. Carefully bu e'tibor bilan, ehtiyotkorlik bilan yoki diqqat bilan degan ma'nolarni bildiradi. The baby carefully climbed down the stairs. The baby carefully climbed down the stairs. Hop, shu yosh bola diqqat bilan, ya'ni ehtiyotkorlik bilan stairs degani pog'onalar degani, zina. Climb down degani pastga tushmoq. Bu yerda pastga tushmoq, demak zinadan pastga tushmoq. Xo'p, demak bola zinadan ehtiyotkorlik bilan pastga tushdi. Xo'p, keyingi so'zlarimiz chemical. Chemical bu yerda kimyoviy modda. Xo'p, the scientist mixed the chemicals. The scientist mixed the chemicals. Xo'p, scientist bu yerda olim, demak shunaqa ilm-fan bilan shug'ullanuvchi odam. Olim kimyoviy moddalarni mixed, aralashtirdi. Mix, aralashtirmoq. Xo'p, keyingi so'zimiz create. Create bu yaratmoq, yasamoq degan tarjimalar chiqadi. Mana bu gapda esa she created an igloo from blocks of snow. She created an igloo from blocks of snow. Snow, qor, blocks, kichkina to'rtburchak, g'o'la yoki bir shunaqa narsalar, kichkina to'rtburchak narsalar blocks deydi. Igloo bu rasmda ko'rib turganinglardagi, ya'ni o'zbekcha, masalan, o'zbek tiliga bu igloo ko'proq shu qordan yasaladi. O'zbekcha tarjima qilganda chodir bo'lishi mumkin. Shu chodirga o'xshagan narsa igloo. O'zbekcha tarjimasini bilmadim buni. Xo'p, bu qordan yasaladi. Demak, she created an igloo from blocks of snow. Qor g'o'lalaridan u igloo yasadi. Keyingi so'zimiz evil. Evil bu yomon, yovuz degan tarjimasi chiqadi. Evil. Hop, the evil mana oxirigacha belgilab oling. The evil. Demak, hammaga tushunarli. The evil figure scared us all. The evil figure scared us all. Demak, scare qo'rqitmoq, us bizni, all hamma degani. Demak, figure beti figura, ya'ni shakl, ya'ni shu yomon shakl, shu yovuz ko'ringan shakl bizni qo'rqitdi barchamizni deyapti. Keyin o'tib ketib qoldi. Keyingi so'zimiz tajriba, sinov so'zi, ya'ni experiment. Experiment bu yerda tajriba, sinov. The student, buni belgilab qo'yamiz. The student did an experiment in science class. Hop, science, mana bu science class, ilm fan darsi yoki tabiatshunoslik desak bo'ladimi? Shunaqa tajriba qiladigan, ilm fanni o'rganadigan dars. Hop, the student did an experiment in science class. Student shu ilm fanni o'rganuvchi darsda tajriba qildi. Did endi bajarmoq, qilmoq. Tajriba o'tkazdi. Hop, keyingi so'zimiz kill. Kill o'ldirmoq degani. I killed the fly with a fly swatter. Hop, swat bu yerda ana terda ovoshlik swat urmoq, ya'ni ayni bitta hasharotlarga nisbatan qo'l bilan yoki biror bir daftarmi shunaqa buyumlar bilan urish swat hisoblanadi. Boshqa narsa hit emas yoki boshqa nima emas. Swat shu ayniqsa especially deyilgan joyi, especially insects, ya'ni hasharotlarni urish uchun ishlatiladigan fe'l shu. Demak, I killed the fly, men fly deng pashsha, men pashshani o'ldirdim with nima bilan? A fly swatter. O'sha pashsha urgich bilan deb tarjima chiqadi. Demak, tushundinglar. Xo'p, bu yerda endi mana lab degan narsa bor. Lab qisqartmasi cho'zmasdan lab deshadi. Lekin laboratory degani laboratoriya, laboratory. Xo'p, chipasroq o'tishib olamiz. My mother works in a laboratory. Meni oyim works in a laboratory. Laboratoriyada ishlaydi. Xo'p, laugh kulgi, kulmoq degani. Noun bo'lsa kulgi, verb bo'lsa kulmoq. The sound of their laugh filled the room. The sound of their laugh filled the room. Xonani, demak, the sound ovozi. Nimani ovoz? Their laugh. Ularning kulgisini ovozi xonani fill. Demak, to'ldirdi. Xonani to'ldirib yubordi. Xo'p, yaxshi. Keyingi so'zimiz mana loud. Loud bu shovqinli, baland degani. Loud. The man's voice was so loud that we all could hear him. Odamning ovozi, voice, ovozi juda ham baland edi. Ki, z gapning o'rtasida ki bo'lib keladi. Baland ediki, biz hammamiz uni eshita oldik. Could o'tgan zamonda qila olmoq. Keyingi so'zimiz nervous. Nervous xavotirlangan, tashvishga tushgan degan. The boy became nervous when he heard the news. When qachonki gapning o'rtasida WH questions gapning o'rtasiga kelsa, ki tarjimasi bilan keladi. Ikkita gapni bog'lovchi. Qachonki u heard the news, yangiliklarni eshitganida bola became bo'ldi, become bo'lmoq, bo'ldi nervous, ya'ni xavotirga tushdi, xavotirlangan bo'ldi. Hop, noise shovqin, yoqimsiz ovoz. The crying baby made a loud noise. Yig'layotgan baby bola. Hop, made a loud noise. Ya'ni made a loud noise, made qildi, ya'ni shovqin qildi, shovqin soldi. Yig'layotgan bola baland shovqin soldi. Hop, men bu yerda mana baby ni men bola deb tarjima qilyapman. Sababi Andijonda biz chaqaloq demaymiz-da, chunki jija deymiz. Chunki ko'pchilik tushunishi uchun men baby ni bola deb o'tib ketyapman. Xo'p, yana bu rasmda chaqaloq turibdi-yu deysiz, endi bola desa ham, chaqaloq desa ham bo'laveradi. Anjanda lekin jija deydi. Hop, keyingisi project. Keyingi so'zimiz project. Yumush, maxsus topshiriq, ish. Hop, his afternoon work project was to paint the room green. Uning afternoon work project. Afternoon bu abidga ish. Yumushi was nima edi? To paint the room green. Ya'ni xonani yashilga bo'yash edi. Hop, keyingi so'zimiz scare. Scare qo'rqitmoq, dahshatga solmoq degani. My uncle was scared by what he saw in the room. My uncle was scared by what he saw in the room. What nimaiki? Demak, he saw u ko'rdi xonada. U xonada ko'rgan narsasidan meni tog'am amakim nima qildi? Qo'rqib ketdi degan tarjima chiqadi. Secret bu sir. Mana the two boys were sharing a secret. Share bo'lishmoq degani. Demak, ikkita bolalar sirlashayotgan edi, ya'ni sirlarini bo'lishayotgan edi. Sirlarni aytishayotgan edi. Xo'p, shout baqirmoq, qichqirmoq. My boss. Hey boss. Demak, my boss belgilanmay qoldi. My boss shouted at me because I was late for work. My boss shouted at me. Tushunyapsizlar? Shu qo'shilib ketib qoladi o'qilayotganda. Demak, my boss shouted at me because I was late for work. Because bu yerda chunki degani. Chunki I was late, men kech qolganim uchun ishga meni boss, ya'ni boshlig'im shout baqirdi at me, menga. Keyingi so'zimiz smell. Smell bu hidlamoq, hidlab ko'rmoq yoki hid taratmoq degan ma'nosi ham bor. Hop, hid taratmoq degan ma'nosi ham bor. Keyin har xil kontekstga qarab chiqarsa bo'ladi. The two friends smelled the flower. Ikkita do'stlar gulni hidlashdi. Terrible bu yerda juda yomon ma'nosi. The way he treated his classmate was terrible. The way he treated his classmate was terrible. Hop, the way yo'l, he treat bu yerda muomala qilmoq, o'zini tutmoq, shunaqa ma'nosi chiqadi. Demak, his classmate uni sinfdoshiga qilgan treated muomalasi, yo'li, shu qanaqa muomala qilgani juda ham yomon edi. Demak, u yomon muomala qilibdi. Hop, worse yomonroq. Roq qo'shimchasi bu yerda bor. Worse. Business was worse this month than last month. Demak, business bu oyda worse yomonroq bo'ldi dan ko'ra degani last month. Demak, o'tgan oydan ko'ra bu oy yomonroq bo'libdi. Demak, endi sizlar bilan biz tugadi shekilli so'zlarimiz. Tekstni o'qib tarjima qilib chiqamiz sizlar bilan hozir. Demak, birinchi o'qib beraman, keyin tarjima qilib chiqamiz. Hop, tekst nima haqida? Reading tekstimiz the laboratory, ya'ni laboratoriya haqida. Birinchi buni hozir o'qib beraman bir qator, keyin birgalikda tarjima qilib chiqamiz. Demak, Mia's father had a laboratory, but she had no idea what was in it. Her dad always closed and locked the door when he went in. She knew that he used it to do projects for work. He never told Mia what these projects were. One night, Mia approached the door to the laboratory. She stopped and thought, I wonder what crazy experiment he is doing now. Suddenly, she heard a loud noise. It sounded like an evil laugh. The noise scared her, so she walked quickly back to her room. The next night, her friend Liz came to her house. When Liz arrived, Mia told her about the night before. Oh, it was terrible, she said. Why don't we see what is in there? Liz asked. It will be fun adventure. Mia felt nervous about going into her father's laboratory, but she agreed. As always, the door was locked. They waited until Mia's father left the laboratory to eat dinner. She didn't lock the door. Liz said, "Let's go." The laboratory was dark. The girls walked down the stairs carefully. Mia smelled strange chemicals. What terrible thing was her father creating? Suddenly, they heard an evil laugh. It was even worse than the one Mia heard the night before. What if a monster was going to kill them? Mia had to do something, she shouted for help. Mia's father ran into the room and turned on the lights. "Oh no," he said. "You must have learned my secret." "Your monster tried to kill us," Mia said. "Monster?" he asked. "You mean this?" He had a pretty doll in his hands. The doll laughed. The laugh didn't sound so evil anymore. "I made this for your birthday. I wanted to give it to you then, but you can have it now. I hope you like it." Demak, o'qib chiqib bo'ldik. Ana endi buni tarjima qilib chiqamiz. Mia's father had a laboratory, but she had no idea what was in it. Xo'p, demak, Miyaning Maya deylik, Mayaning dadasini laboratoriyasi bor edi, but ammo uni had no idea, demak have not idea yoki have no idea degani bilmas edi. Masalan, I have no idea desangiz, men bilmayman degani. She had o'tgan zamonda had have had o'zgarib qolgan. She had no idea. U bilmasdi what, nima was in it, uni ichidaligini, uni ichida nimaligini, lekin Maya bilmas edi. Her dad always closed and locked the door when he went in. Demak, uni dadasi doim closed, demak yopgan va qulflab qo'ygan eshikni qachonki u ichkariga kirganda. To'g'rima-to'g'ri tarjima qilib beraman. Demak, dadasi ichkariga kirib ketganda doim eshikni qulflab bekitib qo'yar ekan. She knew that he used it to do projects for work. U, ya'ni Maya bilardi, uni dadasi ya'ni xonani ish uchun ba'zi bir yumushlar, proyektlar qilish uchun ishlatardi. He never told Mia that, what these projects were. Hop, u ya'ni dadasi Mayaga hech qachon aytmagan what, nimaiki bu proyektlar. Demak, bu proyektlar nimaligini dadasi unga aytmagan ekan. One night, bir kuni kechqurun, Maya demak approached the door to the laboratory. Hop, demak, bir kuni kech payt Maya laboratoriyaning eshigiga yaqinlashdi. She stopped. U to'xtadi and thought va o'yladiki, I wonder what crazy experiment he is doing now. Men qiziqyapman. Wonder qiziqmoq hozirgi paytda. Hozirgi kontekstda men qiziqyapman. Qanday what crazy degani, endi what qanday ma'nosida keladi? Qanday crazy degani bu yerda qanaqangi bir boshqacha eksperiment, ya'ni tajriba qilyapti u hozirgi paytda degan gap bu. Endi crazy masalan hadeb ham negativ ma'noda kelmaydi. Qanday aql bovar qilmas desak ham bo'ladi bu yerda. Hop, suddenly qo'qqisdan she heard a loud noise. Qo'qqisdan u eshitdi, baland ovozda eshitib qoldi. It sounded, u jarangladi, like xuddiki, demak u xuddiki evil laugh, ya'ni yovuz kulgi bo'lib jaranglabdi. The noise scared her. Ovoz uni qo'rqitib yubordi. So, shuning uchun she walked quickly back to her room. U xonasiga tezlik bilan yurib qaytib ketdi. The next night, kelasi kech payt, keyingi kechqurun, kelasi tun, her friend Liz, uni do'sti Liz, demak came to her house. Uyga keldi, uni uyiga keldi. When Liz arrived, Liz kelganida, qachonki kelganida bo'lyapti, Maya told her about the night before. Hop, Maya told, aytdi unga about the night before. Demak, bir kun oldin bo'lgan narsa haqida unga aytib beribdi. Oh, it was terrible. Voy, bu juda ham dahshatli-ku, she said. U aytdi. Demak, u bu juda ham dahshatli deb aytibdi. Why don't we see what is in there? Hop, nima uchun biz ko'rmaymiz nima borligini u yerda deyapti. Liz asked. Liz so'radi. Ya'ni shu nima uchun ko'rmaymiz biz u yerda borib ko'rmaymiz deyapti. U yerda nima borligini. It will be fun adventure. U ajoyib sarguzasht bo'ladi. Hop, Maya, endi Maya deb o'qiraman, o'zi Maya deb o'qiladi bu ism. Maya felt nervous about going into her father's laboratory, but she agreed. Demak, bu yerda Maya biroz xavotirlangan his qildi o'zini. Nima haqida? About going into her father's laboratory. Demak, laboratoriyasi, dadasining laboratoriyasiga kirishga uncha o'zi xavotirlandi, ya'ni nima desa bo'lar ekan bu yerda? Biroz tortindida, shunaqa o'zini his qildi, ya'ni borgisi kelmadi desak bo'ladi. Lekin she agreed, lekin u rozi bo'ldi. As always bu yerda har doimgidek ma'nosi. Har doimgidek the door was locked. Demak, eshik qulf edi. They waited until Maya's father left the laboratory to eat dinner. Xo'p, shuning uchun Mayani ular kutishdi. Wait, kutmoq, until gacha. Demak, ular Mayaning dadasi left laboratoriyani ovqatlangani tark etgunigacha kutib kutishdi. He didn't lock the door. U eshikni qulflamadi. Liza aytdi. Liza nima dedi? Let's go. Ketdik deb endi kirishadi uni xonasiga. Xo'p. What dark qorong'i degani. Laboratory. Demak, the laboratory was dark, qorong'i edi. The girls walked down the stairs carefully. Xo'p, qizlar zinapoyalardan carefully, ehtiyotkorlik bilan yurib tushishdi. Maya smelled strange chemicals. Strange bu yerda g'alati degan ma'noda, chemicals. Demak, Maya g'alati kimyoviy moddalarni smelled, hidladi. Demak, shunaqa hidi kelibdi ularda. What terrible thing was her father creating? Savol beryapti. Endi bu yozuvchi qanday bir bu yerda hozir yomon narsani dadasi ixtiro qilyapti ekan uni deb savol berilyapti. Suddenly, qo'qqisdan they heard an evil laugh. Ular yovuz kulgini eshitib qolishdi. It was even worse than the one Maya heard the night before. Xo'p, u hattoki mana worse yomonroq edi dan ko'ra the one. Xo'p, Maya bir tun oldin eshitgandan ko'ra ham u yomonroq edi u ovoz. What if bu yerda what if deb yozib qo'ysanglar ham bo'ladi, kerak bo'ladi. What if nima bo'ladi agar degani. What if a monster was going to kill them? Ularni monster, shunaqa maxluq ularni o'ldirmoqchi bo'lsa nima bo'ladi deb savol berilyapti. Maya have to degani kerak. Endi had to o'tgan zamonda. Maya had to do something. Maya nimadir qilishi kerak edi. She shouted for help. U yordamga baqirdi. Yordam deb baqiribdi endi. Maya's father, demak Mayaning dadasi ran into the room. Xonaga yurib kirdi and turned on the light. Turn on yoqmoq. Lights, chiroqlar. Demak chiroqlar yoqdi. Oh no, he said. Oh yo'q, u dedi. You must have learned my secret. You must have learned my secret. Bu yerda must have learned tarjimasi sen, ya'ni biror narsa qilib bo'lgan bo'lsang kerak. Ya'ni must have dan bu yerda gumon aralash, lekin ozgina gumon aralash ishonch gap bo'ladi-yu. Masalan, meni oshnam yoki seni do'sting mashinani yuvib bo'lgan bo'lsa kerak degan. Demak, sen meni sirni bilib qolgan bo'lsang kerak deyapti. Your monster tried to kill us, Maya said. Sizni maxluqingiz bizni o'ldirishga harakat qildi deb Maya aytdi. Monster maxluq deb u so'radi. You mean this? Sen buni nazarda tutyapsanmi? He had a pretty doll in his hands. Unda had bor edi. Pretty yoqimtoygina doll, qo'g'irchoq in his hands, qo'llarida yoqimtoygina qo'g'irchoq bor edi. The doll laughed. Qo'g'irchoq kuldi. The laugh didn't sound so evil anymore. Xo'p, endi bu safar kulgi didn't sound jaranglamadi, so evil, ya'ni yovuz anymore boshqa. Demak, boshqa yovuz bo'lib jaranglamabdi. I made this for your birthday. Made yasadim. Men buni sening tug'ilgan kuning uchun yasagandim. I wanted to give it to you. Then I wanted, men xohlagandimki to give it, uni senga o'shanda, ya'ni tug'ilgan kuningda berishni xohlagandim. But You can have it now. Endi you can have it now, sen hozir have olishing mumkin. Sen hozir buni olishing mumkin. I hope, men umid qilamanki, you like it. Sen uni yoqtirasan. Demak, do'stlar, mana readingda ham tarjimasini qilib chiqdik. Demak, buni ko'rib borayotganinglar, ya'ni tarjimalarini mendan keyin ham uyga borib deyman. Mana bu kitobni ochib, tarjimani yana bir qator o'zingiz o'qib, tarjima qilsangiz, o'zingiz ustida ishlasangiz juda ham foydali bo'ladi. Demak, ingliz tilini noldan boshlab o'rganayotgan va o'rganmoqchi bo'lganlaringizga video tarqatib yuborasizlar. Hammaga rahmat, sog' bo'linglar.